why am I doing this? Why am I killing myself for something that everybody needs but nobody understands?
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Jon, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much for having us.
You are the co-founder and CEO at Invenda, a company that is disrupting the vending machine industry with connected smart technology. Before we talk about your company, I would like to learn more about your personal background. You studied management information systems at the University of North Carolina in the United States.
Yes.
In the mid-90s, I think that was.
Makes me sound very old.
And I just wonder, when you finished your studies, did you dream of a yuppie future?
No, not really. I actually expected to continue studying and maybe stay more in academia, but I also wanted to try my hand in startups. That was before the first bubble burst, so I thought it would be really fun. And I had done a lot of traveling in school, so my ambition was to try living abroad.
And yeah, you actually ended up in Switzerland. You also worked for numerous corporate jobs along the way. So we're all curious, how did you actually end up in Switzerland? How did that happen?
Well, I followed the snow, and they have very good snow here. So I ended up moving to Engelberg because it has some of the best free riding in the Alps. So that's how I ended up here and continue that journey today.
And you said you always wanted to work in the startup world. Where does that entrepreneurial drive come from? Do you have any role models that inspired you, maybe even in your family?
My father started his own company, but for me, I just thought it would be interesting to have constantly evolving roles. And my first job in Boston was actually a startup. It was a bunch of kids from MIT and Harvard who created this little bubble for us. Mm-hmm. And I got the bug. It was really a fun and exciting place to be, and I really liked that everybody had a fixed job, but your responsibilities changed and evolved all the time as the company grew. So somebody with a very short attention span, it was a good fit.
And what then motivated you to also say, hey, I really want to start my own company, not only work in a startup company, but really start my own business?
Well, I think all along I'd been considering it, and we played around, as with a lot of entrepreneurs, I'd played around with some different ideas. Mm-hmm. But I think, we just kind of got lucky, and I decided that I wanted to try and build something on my own together with some of the team members that I have today. We were in a ticket vending project with ACS Xerox here in Switzerland, which is now called Conduent. Xerox decided to make things cheaper and move their team to India. Mm-hmm. And I saw an opportunity then that we could actually all come together and use all of this experience from the ticket vending industry and build it into snack and drink machines. And what was really interesting is that you see the snack and drink machines on the same tracks as the ticket vending machines, and they're really they haven't changed since I was a boy, which you pointed out earlier that's a very long time ago. And I saw that as an opportunity. It's they're really in prime locations, but they're not really utilizing the space or the opportunity of advertising and optimizing the customer experience. So we stepped forward and decided to do that. I brought Jon and another one of our guys from the Xerox team, Oleg, and then we've been building up from the team from there.
I think this happened in one fateful stay in Philadelphia, what you just described. Can you talk a bit more about, the hypothesis that you saw? You saw there's potential that is underutilized. How do you then go about testing and validating that? Because it could also be that you're the only one that saw it that way, right?
Absolutely. And I think there was really a cool opportunity. Another friend of mine owned a digital signage company. So understanding how the digital signage industry actually works and basically how that space, how saturated that market actually is, but also how you can actually use it in the point of sale and directly start pushing consumers towards different things. We saw just through the ticket vending, we worked a lot with the UI. No offense to SBB, but using SBB as the case of what not to do. Because it's way too complex and way too many steps. So we were trying to figure out how to simplify that. And through that experience, I saw really you can make things really cool. using a screen rather than actually having the products in place. And then another friend of mine owns a McDonald's, and understanding how the digital revolution was happening in fast food and using screens to advertise products, and then really what the impact of the kiosks is having on their sales. And why not do that for snacks, drinks, anything else? And then also looking at regulatory influences. Right now, it's required that you actually inform the consumer before they buy the product what the allergens are, what the caloric content is, basically provide all the nutritional information. And through a traditional vending machine, that's simply not possible. So we are able to offer all of that. So I think there's a market demand. It's just the people who should be demanding it aren't yet. And that's really where you see an opportunity to disrupt. And we jumped into it.
And you, of course, also needed to have a team around that to actually be able to build and launch your services, your product. How do you build your team? I think you mentioned you worked with some of them previously.
Yeah, well, it was really funny. It's a startup. So I rented an Airbnb in Serbia, and obviously our team, the Xerox team, was based in Novi Sad. Novi Sad's a university town, so there's a really large pool of extremely talented and ambitious younger people. So we wanted to do it there, and the existing team members that I was able to bring in from Xerox, they were all based there as well. So through our Airbnb, we made a job advert, and the people who were, willing to take the risk and show up at some random apartment for a job interview, we were able to see through basically their skills, and they were able to see through our ambitions, and decided to come join the team. So we really just try to go through our internal network, so the people that we knew and that we trusted. Because I think at the foundation, all companies, you really need extremely strong individuals who really believe in the vision and also really can be trusted. You don't really have the time or the capability to go back and check everything all the time. It's really, you have to trust the people actually are doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and common history there, whether from university or working together, I think that can really help you to have that bond and that trust as a successful founding relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, we really tried to build it as kind of a family company where everybody, one, owns a part of the company, and two, that everybody feels that they're contributing more than just their normal job. I mean, right. Borrowing from what I had in Boston as well, it's anybody, anywhere in the company could come up with an idea, and then we're able to pursue that idea. And no idea is dumb because we're disrupting something. So basically we have to choose and evaluate every different opportunity. And I think, at least in the Balkans, that's not really normal. They generally do outsourcing and nearshoring. So it was also a new opportunity for them to actually have a voice, because usually they just work for the hour, and they're told what they're supposed to do, and they do it even if they think it's stupid, where we don't really have that mentality or that kind of environment. We really talk and discuss, sometimes over-discuss everything.
Absolutely. And in that regard, so you now built your team. You shared the common experience from the past. What did you then build together as a first step? Did you build an MVP, or how did you then go and move on to actually validate your idea and hypothesis?
Well, first we went together with Intel. They're a really good partner of ours, and they had built an SDK that we could actually leverage to try to build some sort of an MVP. And they had built their own hardware interface boards, and they had a really pretty rough UI that we could actually start with to kind of give us an idea of how it would work. At the same time, we were also doing market research to try to understand what the industry would afford and also what they might be interested in. So, it was more or less an MVP. One of my first meetings, I tried to go with Selecta, and they obviously weren't seeing any demand for any of this. So they told us they had other things that they were more focused on. But they're owned primarily by KKR, an investment fund. And we saw the economics of what we could possibly do for their business. And so I approached KKR, the portfolio manager who was responsible for the Selecta company, and explained to them basically what kind of opportunity we could do for their business by helping it grow rather than stagnating and only staying with selling products, that we can actually leverage some of the locations and really push their products, elevate their products to a much higher level. And so basically the portfolio manager understood the math really well, which you wouldn't be surprised from KKR, and gave us a couple of months to build an MVP. And Selecta, of course, sent us some machines to work with, their own old Wurlitzer machines. And we were able to turn it around in a really short period of time. It probably wasn't, from a technical side, it wasn't probably the most beautiful solution, which MVPs tend not to be, but it was functional and it looked really cool. So I think that's basically how we moved forward. We proved that we could do it, both to our customers and to ourselves. So standing in front of a machine and being able to buy things was really a big step for everyone. We had a little party.
I think that's super impressive. You got the first no from Selecta, but you didn't give up. You just found another way around it to make it work. I think that's the entrepreneurial spirit right there at heart. And I also wonder if you could share some of the numbers that you actually then were able to show in the pilot, or that actually convinced KKR to take a leap of faith and say, hey, let's test it. That's actually very promising.
Yeah, I mean, we have different customers have reported different impacts on their sales numbers. I mean, I think it's anywhere between 20 and 60% or 80, even 80% in some markets. Uplift in sales by using digital imagery and helping with the recommendations engine. For example, traditional vending machines only sell one product, where we have the shopping cart and we're emulating the online experience that everyone is very comfortable with, and providing a shopping cart so they can buy multiple products in a single transaction. I think we sell on average 1.4 roughly products per transaction, where a traditional machine only sells one. And then we're able to, by animating a product on the screen, for example, we've had 3 different customers around the world confirm that just by animating a product on the screen, we're able to increase the sale of that product by at least 50%, which is also pretty tremendous. And then calculating in the advertising, which is extremely disruptive because nobody really does that in a digital sense, and you can increase at least tenfold what your product's sales are just through a new channel without adding any extraordinary costs. You're actually saving costs because we're able operationally to help the operators see what their machines are doing, how they're performing, and then guaranteeing that their customers are more satisfied as well. So you'll get a lot more repeat customers. You don't walk away from a vending machine after having beaten it because your product is still hanging there. We digitally see the product hasn't been delivered, and we do everything possible to make sure that we turn it from another channel, and we're also communicating constantly with the customer, letting them know what's going on and apologizing. And if in the end we don't have the product or something else is not reparable, we offer them to buy a different product. And I think that's something that's been lacking all along, the customer service in traditional vending. It just, there was no capability for it, so there was no real way to actually deliver it. And now we're closing that gap.
This is really mind-blowing. The idea sounds so simple, but it's yet so powerful, what you just described. This is really mind-blowing from my perspective.
That's the feedback you generally get from a lot of different customers, FMCGs, or even selected people. They look at it and like, but really, nobody's ever done this before? This is stupid. And really, when you see the machine, you're turning a traditional vending machine into a giant iPad, and it just makes sense. And iPads aren't new. And when you stand in front of one of our machines, it's something that you're accustomed to and that you would have expected a long time ago. It actually is more that it has a converse or adverse effect on traditional machines, because you're standing in front of it and remembering, oh yeah, back in high school, we had one of these. And that was a long time ago. So why is this still here?
And you started in the vending machines business. And I just wonder, is that market actually large enough to build a successful startup around it?
Absolutely. I mean, just from a traditional vending market, I think there's over 15 million snack and drink machines in the world. But what we're trying to do, or not trying to do, what we're actually successfully doing is accessing parts of the market where vending has never actually been a part of. So we can go into brands like Happy Socks or Lindt chocolates, where you have a requirement for a premium experience, and also you have more opportunity to leverage some of their marketing expertise and dollars. And so that's actually one area that we have an opportunity for growth beyond what the traditional vending is. But then we also have other products in our pipeline. We've built an ecosystem. So it's more or less a brain for automated retail. So you don't necessarily need to only have a vending machine. We also have smart fridges. So you can have in a hotel room, for example, you can scan a QR code, see the inventory. We can encourage you to buy other products. We can help you charge it to your room. We can help you use your loyalty points for that. But at the same time, the vending machine down in the corner in the hall, you can use the same interface and same technology for all of that. We also work with the kiosks, so similar to a micro market concept. All of it works on one platform, whereas in the traditional market right now, and in this industry at least, you basically have to have 3 disparate solutions that somehow have to interface with each other. And myself, coming from an IT background, the way we built our solution was to keep it open. We know that all of our customers already have existing systems and processes in place, and we really want them to leverage those existing processes. So we built it really open with APIs that they can continue using their existing ERP system, for example, and we can just feed our information straight into their ERP system without having to force them to change everything. So disruptive without actually everyone knowing that it's being disrupted.
So while the vending machine market is just the entry point, the vision is so much bigger.
Absolutely. I mean, we had no expectation or plan to actually build vending machines. That came as an accident, because nobody in the industry was actually willing to even consider changing how they do things today. And there was no real access point for us to put our solution into. So similar to the iPod and how Apple actually basically transformed that market, or even Microsoft with the PCs. In the end, you end up having to build your own equipment at some point just to start getting market traction, and that's what we're doing as well.
And talking about Microsoft, they're actually another partner of yours besides Intel. And I think you work with them in the artificial intelligence space. So how does AI also play a role in your product, in your service?
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Microsoft has been a huge proponent of ours and a great supporter, and they're helping us develop different AI components, basically algorithms that help our customers have a better experience. So similar to what you might find in a fast food restaurant, when you select one product, we actually have a complementary product that's offered to the consumer to try to increase their basket size, but also make sure they don't walk away and regret not having something. So we're measuring all kinds of different factors, from time of the day, weather, events, to age and gender, combining all of this together to make sure that we actually target the consumer appropriately. And Microsoft is providing development resources and a platform for us to do that, which is really cool.
And today, who are actually your main customers that you're working with? Is there any, thing of a typical buyer persona or customer type?
I mean, our biggest customer is an FMCG company, one of the biggest in the world, and very much into snacks, sweets especially. But we work a lot with large drink companies and then vending operators. So, I mean, obviously Selecta is still an important customer of ours, but there's some other really huge global players, and we're working basically with all of them, I think, at this point. So it's there's so many opportunities, but then we have the big brands like, as I said, Happy Socks or Lindt. These companies are also giving us really interesting channels to pursue. And then there's a huge convenience chain in Mexico who wants to do basically something similar to Amazon Go, but on a much more simplistic level, and offer alcoholic beverages without having personnel present to check IDs, which we're obviously also able to do. And there's just so much opportunity. That's one of our problems as a startup, is trying to channel which opportunities are the most favorable that we can actually afford to pursue at this point.
And I just wanted to ask you that because that can be a big challenge by itself, right? How do you get the right focus into your company and to also focus on the right customers, but the right markets and industries? How do you do that? Because you have multiple different industries that you can serve, multiple products that you could potentially offer them. How do you find the right focus and the right priorities?
I think first we have to try to keep making it fun. So we try to choose things that would be interesting to our team. But also we use market research, our core customers, the ones who helped us build the product. We leverage their information and knowledge and experience considerably. And then we also use it and leverage a lot of partnerships and different relationships to try to figure out where we should go and how we should do it. I would say it's somewhat scientific and somewhat seat of the pants approach, where you really you have to have some sort of instinct for it at some point.
Right. And I also wonder, how does your business model look like or evolve with the different industries and the different products that you offer? Is there always the same business model behind the services that you offer, or does it also change from industry or customer that you serve?
In general, it's static, but there are different variants. So we try, again, we're disruptive, so we're trying to share the pain that our customers might feel from having to change their business. So for one, our hardware, we sell it really at cost because we're just trying to help our customers get into the market, which is actually generally cheaper than other equipment that they might be able to buy in the market. Mm-hmm. So that reduces one pain point, but other ways are looking at how they can optimize it. So a company who might buy a completely branded machine from us, they're not going to leverage the advertising potential except internally. So then we have a different business model to help them versus somebody who might have public vending machines or public operations, where we can really leverage some of the advertising beyond a single brand. And through that, then we're able to really reduce even fixed OpEx to help the customers really make the most out of the solution, and then all of us profit. So it's, we're not trying to be greedy in any sense. We're really just trying to change how people buy things, and in the end, we'll all be fine. I think that the market is massive. So as long as everybody agrees to share, and so far that's how it works, then we're all going to do really well.
Fantastic. And another challenge that you actually faced since day one, basically, is the combination of hardware and software. So how do you tackle and solve that? Because often people say, go into hardware or software, but don't combine the two.
I can totally agree with that. Again, we only had to we did hardware. I guess in the beginning, it was really funny. The hardware team, we had no intentions of even having a hardware engineering or a hardware team. And we had hired one consultant to come help us try to fix a specific machine based on the initial designs from Intel. And somehow, I don't know, he ended up taking over the whole company, and that ended up being the largest department in the company. But again, it was just because there's nothing else out on the market. So what we've done now, because we've really stabilized how the hardware design is actually built, and it's a standardized framework that works with lots of different machines and different manufacturers, which we've proven. We have the Wurlitzer machines and Invenda machines and AW machines, Avoco. It doesn't really matter. We're able to support all of them. So what we're trying to do is now focus our energies more on the innovation and technology side, and then transition our manufacturing to other companies, either through contract manufacturing or putting our solutions in machines or equipment from other manufacturers. So I was recently contacted or had meetings with the CEO of one of the largest vending machine manufacturers, and it was really cool. A couple of years ago, I had similar conversations, and they really decided they wanted to go out and try to build their own software solution. But now, after quite a bit of time, they've realized they're experts in hardware and not software, and in converse, we're actually experts in software, and we're not manufacturing people. So combining that, now he sees an opportunity to actually put our software solution in his machines and manufacture machines for us, either by our design or using their existing fleet of machines, which is really cool. And we're getting more traction now that time goes on. I think 4 years ago when we started the company, almost 5 years ago, there was really no demand. Customers weren't coming, operators weren't coming and saying, we really need this. But now you have fiscalization requirements in different companies where every transaction needs to be reported to the tax authorities. So they do need to put the machines online. COVID has really helped in that respect and driving demand of digital transactions. So people want to pay more with their mobile wallets and their telephones. They also want to pay more with credit cards. I think the increase even in Switzerland is over 40%. Since COVID, which resulted actually even in a new product for us. We had to find a way that we could even deliver a complete transaction without somebody having to touch a machine, which we've since patented. But yeah, I think there's been a lot of demand. So I see ultimately we're going to continue working with designing and building innovative solutions, but in the long term, we probably will end up transitioning out of actually building the end machines and move that more to either contract manufacturers or the people who are really good at it. We'll design them because that's what we're really good at. We're an engineering company, primarily a software company, but we don't really need to build them.
Makes sense. I wonder in that transition, if you go more from the hardware towards the software part, you probably also need different skill sets and different people to actually have the stronger focus on the actual software. Is that a big challenge for you to also recruit and hire the talent in that regard, or how do you see that?
I think every company has the same problems, finding the right people, and it's not necessarily the skills and experience as much as the cultural fit. People can learn basically anything. So I'm a big proponent of hiring the right people rather than just people who have a beautiful CV. But yeah, I think all companies struggle to make sure they find people who don't rock the boat or sink the ship, as it may be. Sorry, a lot of analogies here. But I think, yeah, we are a global company, which is helping us a lot. We're not limited to a certain or specific geography, which is really helpful. All of us come from so many different places. I mean, I was born in America. I live in Switzerland. Our COO, Orsina, she was born in Switzerland, grew up in America, and now lives in Switzerland. Our CFO is French, living in Switzerland. We have an office in Stockholm. Everybody travels pretty much all the time. I don't know actually how many nationalities we are. We have the office in Hong Kong as well. We're constantly growing, and now we actually have one or two people in London. So we take on people as we find them. And how I basically something that I've discussed with all of our employees, especially the initial core team, is from now on, we don't just have conversations with people. Every conversation you have is a job interview. So it doesn't matter where I am, at a coffee shop or an interview. You're always evaluating if somebody's a right fit for this company, and then trying to figure out how you could put them into it, and if now is the right time, or putting them back in the bank and deciding that later they would be somebody that we would be looking for. And that's basically, you have to be on it all the time. In the beginning, a lot of the engineering team, they laughed, but now they also see that everyone they meet, they come back and like, I met this really cool person today. I was at some sort of a meetup, and they had some really cool questions. So I asked them for their CV. Like, that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what do you look for in people, to really evaluate whether there's a good culture fit or whether they would make a good addition to your team? Is there any specific mental checklist that you go through that gets your sort of attention if these boxes are checked?
Yeah, ambition. I mean, energy and ambition. We need people who really love what they're doing and really want to be a part of something, a change. Disruption is really challenging. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of patience, and doors get slammed in your face every day. And we have failure after failure, and the successes are actually, they're publicized, so they look really good, but there's a lot of time between all of them. Not even necessarily time, but a lot of frustration, and people who can actually really, really deal with that. And we're building something new, so it's we're also from an engineering side, we face challenges, and we need people who don't give up. So I can't have a bunch of people crying every time we fail. I want people to sit around and think, crap, that happened. Now how do I fix it? And
Right.
come back with a proposal for a different solution that may be completely nuts, but it'll probably work. And that's how we've ended up with all of our products. So I think, those are the kinds of people we're looking for. And where they come from, who they are, that's also, it's really not particularly interesting unless it's actually adding to the culture. So I think it's,
Before we continue with the show, we would like to introduce you to our new partner, Nuco. Nuco helps founders navigate the paperwork that starting a company involves. From the first consultation all the way to the commercial register, Nuco has helped more than 900 entrepreneurs start their company, and they do so at highly competitive prices. To find out more, visit nuco.ch/Swisspreneur. Again, that's nuco.ch/Swisspreneur. And now, on with the show.
You have your headquarters here in Switzerland, but Switzerland sometimes also enjoys the reputation of not thinking big enough, not being ambitious enough. So is that a contradiction or a bigger challenge to you to find the right people here, or how do you solve that?
Yeah, I mean, again, we look here in Switzerland and obviously the management team, we've been able to find quite a few really good people. But yeah, I think a bigger challenge in Switzerland for all startups is getting financing. It's a very conservative country, and how people evaluate investments or potential investments is not the same as they might in the UK or in Sweden or in the US. They're very risk averse, and I think that's been our bigger challenge is trying to get help in the beginning. And basically, I emptied my pockets and then started picking the pockets of my friends to try to keep it running. And that's really, really challenging. And that's not unusual for any startup, but it took us a lot longer to start getting recognition and support from people outside the friend circle than I think you would in other markets. And from a recruitment perspective, I mean, it's the center of Europe, and we have the best skiing in the world, and there's some good mountain biking and climbing. And so that you'll always find people that either want to come here or are here and would be a good fit for our team.
So the quality of life is a strong USP to attract the right talent here.
Absolutely. Across the board. I think the whole team is going whitewater rafting next week, or actually Friday.
Nice.
So we like people to really remain active, and I think a healthy body leads to a healthy mind. So that's a cliche as well. I'm full of cliches today. It's really cool. Sorry about that.
All good. You also talked about the disruption that you're working on, basically, that you're tackling, that could be a big challenge by itself. So I wonder, who actually stands in your way in that regard? You probably have to change minds and old thinking habits. So who is standing in your way in that regard to actually, make that disruption happen?
That can be our own customers sometimes. You're really trying to challenge their traditional way of thinking and their traditional operations. Consumers, I mean, you have multiple generations of people who buy products. So, I think Apple and these companies weren't super successful in all generations, but we're leveraging a lot of their experience to figure out how we can actually approach not just the under 20s or under 40s. We want to make something that's really useful for everyone and usable by everyone. So I think, we have challenges, I think, across the board. From the operator sides, I think our maintenance people, they've never had anybody who could actually watch what they're doing. Now through software, we're able to measure basically their performance and efficiency. So we've measured negative impact from people who don't want it to succeed because they don't actually want to be watched. I think I can give you a story from France. It was I was sitting with one of the heads of engineering there, and basically he told me they tested vending machines that were not, they had removed the glass fronts and just put in an image. Well, actually, what he told me is they copied our concept. I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And he said, yeah, our sales went down 40%. We just kept losing. We basically had to remove and pull the machines out of the market and throw them away. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. When was that test? And yeah, he said, yeah, I think he didn't say it, but one of his technicians, and they'd all been there for 20 or 30 years. I was in 1993. And I was like, 1993. I graduated from high school in 1993. I was like, that's really interesting. My television was this big. Your vending machine is this big. How did you get a television inside your vending machine and still have room for products? Everyone at the table just started cracking up. And then we realized the mentality was they had tested something a long time ago and it was a failure, but they didn't test. It wasn't like for like. And they weren't understanding at that point what the value of marketing is. The whole world, we're being bombarded with imagery and marketing, but it's not targeted. It's a lot of wasted noise. And through solutions like ours, we're able to help target that marketing, and we're really able to really leverage the space. And through advancements in technology, our screen is now that big and no longer that big. So we can really do a lot more. And operationally, we can also help them a lot. So getting people who have this older mindset and have really tried things and failed to understand that things have evolved, that's a real challenge for us. And it's across the board on our customers, management, all the way to the people in the field who go fill the machines.
And I also want to pick up on something that you said before. You emptied your pocket, you invested your money into your own company. You get so many no's down the road to really, try to disrupt that market and make it happen. Was there any point where you said, no, that's it, I'm going to stop? This is not working. This is not for me. Was there any sort of moment like that?
Of course. I think I've had many of those moments. I think, from an economics perspective, we ran out of money at least 4 times now. So, and then you just sit there and like, why am I doing this? Why am I killing myself for something that everybody needs, but nobody understands? So yeah, there's been real challenges with that. I also have a young family, and sometimes you really worry how you're going to make everything work. And I see my friends, they don't work 80 or 100 hours a week, and they still live a really good life. But we're trying to do something bigger. It wasn't really about the time investment or the financial investment. It's about change. And that's one of the aspects we're looking for in our employees and team members, is that we really want people who want to affect change, and they're willing to make sacrifices for it. And so, that's how you generally overcome it. And it also takes my wife in the back. You can't give up now. You've already done this for so many years. You can't quit. You look stupid. So I think there is some of that as well. But and then you get little successes. So it feels like everything is going to die. And then the next day a customer calls and really tells you how great it is and how excited they are and want to move forward and try to help you do that. And you just use it as energy and lift yourself back up and move forward. And so that's how we are. But every entrepreneur goes through that. If you don't have the stomach for it, then you probably should just stick at a big company.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's part of the job description.
Absolutely.
Let's also talk about the other supporters that you have. You were actually able to raise money during the COVID crisis from investors such as Andreas Pfluger or the people at Mutual Ventures. What will the money be used for that you just raised?
Yeah, obviously we're expanding globally. So, and we're focused really a lot right now on the North American market from a vending perspective, and even from the micro markets. That's a huge growth market for us, and that's one of the biggest in the world. So that costs growing into these new markets. We have active projects in 15 different countries at the moment, and it's continuing to expand. But we use partners or leverage partnerships in those. But each time it takes a lot of energy and more resources, generally people and feet on the ground, to make these successful. And so that's a big part of it. We'll continue investing in innovation and building out the product and into new things. And I think the first 3 years, we only spent 3% of our budget on marketing and sales, which has resulted in some pretty significant projects. But we have a very stable, very cool product now. So we also need to start investing more money into marketing and sales and hiring proper salespeople instead of just having us engineers standing in front of people and trying to explain how everything works and really make things look shiny and beautiful. So that's what we're investing a lot in, innovation, and obviously then through manufacturing and things like that. That's also very expensive.
Amazing. And another thing, if you look at your supporters, is your board. What stood out there is you really have a very diverse board that you set up there. How do you go about the setup and the creation of your board, and how do they actually work together and help you along the journey?
As I said earlier, it's all about instinct. So these people are awesome. I think Andreas, the whole Muchler group, and Herman, we all just kind of get along really well and think the same way. And nobody's afraid of criticism. We have a dialogue, so it's nobody dictating or basically subjects and demanding or anything. We all really understand what we're trying to do and are all very excited about it. So we work really well together. And so the board kind of presented itself really organically. So during the capital raise, we saw, the Muchlers were really, really active in helping us structure it, future-proofing basically our financial structure. And then Herman obviously has been, actually it was really funny. I had another dialogue with him after he invested, and why did you invest? And he said, yeah, actually the first time I came to the pitch, I thought you're really nice, but your product, really, it didn't really excite me at all. He said it was the trip home. I looked outside and I saw how many vending machines were out in the street, and I'd never noticed them before. And then I saw there's a huge opportunity for that. So, and ever since then, he's been really active in trying to help us grow. And obviously, having started several of his own companies and exited, he understands what the potential is and also the problems that we have. So as a founder, I have a lot of weird problems that I never expected to have, that none of my friends are able to relate to. Only another person in this position actually would. From one day not being able to pay any of the bills and trying to figure out how to make that work, to how do I hire people, and what do I do to expand and grow, from the legal aspect, the Muchlers, they really went through and said all of your contracts are really unusable and you won't be really taken seriously from big funds. If you actually need to do proper financing, you need to have a better framework in place. And Andreas knows, he was the CEO of Lindt for North America. He knows FMCGs, he knows everyone. And he's very energetic. We've taken him to sales pitches, and it's really a different mentality and a different character than we're used to, but it's super complementary. Really the way he addresses people and the energy that he has, he sees it from a mathematical perspective. So he just gets really frustrated when people don't really seem to understand that the technology is changing their lives for the better. And he doesn't understand why we have to have a conversation about it. The math is there, the technology is there. He just thinks it should move forward, and then he just plows through. And as a senior manager in a massive global company, that's how it worked before. So he could just sit and say, look, we're going to do that. That makes sense. And he doesn't like all of necessarily the back and forth and the dialogues, because he thinks that people are just wasting their time and they really need to be moving forward. So having all of this is really helpful. But I also have people that I can call and say, look, when I have one of those moments where I really want to jump out of the window, I can't do this, who say, look, catch your breath. This is what's happening and you're going to be fine. And take a few minutes and then let's go through and look at the problem, analyze it, and then we'll find another solution. That's how it works. You need these people to push you through. Good times, they help you celebrate, and the bad times, they lift you up and carry you through the next part.
Beautifully said. I think this really shows the importance of a strong board to also help you succeed as a company.
Yeah, and we really enjoy each other. I think I'm the only person I know who goes to the board meetings and has fun. We generally laugh a lot. They're such nice people, and I enjoy spending time with them even without the company. So I think that's pretty unusual. And again, it's luck. We didn't know each other before. We all kind of ran into each other through this experience, and I think it's a real privilege. Same as the management team and all the way through the engineering team, we all just kind of get each other. And we're not always best friends, but yeah, in the end, it's all for the greater good, and everybody understands that, and we're able to move forward.
So you're really onboarded on an exciting journey. You already gave us a small sneak peek about what you plan to do with the funds that you just raised. I also wonder, have you ever thought about an exit scenario to sell the company or to do an IPO?
Of course. Actually, in the beginning, no. I didn't really think that far ahead, but don't tell anyone. No, I think we've had a couple of companies approach us about purchasing the company. They weren't really a strategic fit, and they really didn't. It wasn't the right time. We aren't really finished with our journey yet, so we need to figure out basically how to continue along the path that we've defined. And I think for exits, yeah, we would consider anybody who can help us propel along that journey or along that path and continue. We're nowhere near finished. But there are companies who might be able to help us actually reach the target faster, be it through financing or be it through experience and network. So yeah, we're always open to having discussions, and yeah, it's not money. It's much more for us about actually doing something. I didn't sacrifice, and none of us sacrificed the last years of our lives just to fill our bank accounts quickly. And in the end, all we would do is walk away and do it over again. So I think it makes more sense to actually do something where we can actually fulfill what we were trying to do.
Really chasing that vision.
Yes, absolutely.
So we wrap up the conversations where we talk about personal gadgets and resources that you can share. Do you have anything that you can share with our listeners today that you use yourself on a regular basis?
I love the Remarkable 2. So I think it's kind of like a notepad. We're also trying to take this green approach. So we reduce our carbon footprints as much as possible. And one of the things is actually reducing paper usage. So the Remarkable allows us to do that. But the technology is so evolved, it can translate your handwriting, even my horrible handwriting, into typed text. I think that's really cool. So for Christmas this year, we got the whole management team Remarkables, and I think everybody really enjoys using them. So yeah, I think that's the most innovative thing. I don't really play video games or really play around with much other stuff than that, but that's my favorite tech gadget for the.
That's a cool
moment.
recommendation. And as a last part, we also have some rapid fire questions for you.
Uh-oh.
I give you either a short question or a selection of different choices.
Okay.
You have to make a choice or answer in one sentence. Are you ready?
All right, go.
How many hours of sleep did you get last night?
3.
Wow, that's not that much.
No, I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and
Okay.
I think they came into our room about 5 times last night.
Yeah, fair point. 40-hour work week or 4-hour work week? Probably both not accurate.
And no, very far off on both of them.
Chocolate bar or chips?
Chocolate bar.
Easy choice.
Only dark chocolate, though.
Fair point. Is the customer always right?
No.
I think with your disruption story, you probably had a few experiences on that.
Sometimes they just need to be convinced.
Exactly. And the last one, Switzerland or the United States?
Switzerland.
That's also so easy for you to choose?
Of course. I love visiting America. I'm an American at heart, but my family, my life, everything is here. So, and the Alps are here. I know we have great mountains. The Rocky Mountains in America are really beautiful, but you have 10 days of vacation. I don't think you can do that much in 10 days. So I think the quality of life for me is a better fit here in Switzerland.
Amazing. Jon, thank you so much for stopping by. It was really cool to cover your story and the impressive journey of how you built your company. And we wish you all the best and lots of success for the future global expansion.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate taking the time.
This episode was brought to you by Swisspreneurs' main partner, Clara Business, the digital all-in-one solution for small businesses. Managing internal processes manually and on paper wastes an incredible amount of time. That's why Clara digitizes everything, allowing you to focus on what really matters, your core business. Go to clara.ch to find out how your business administration can be simpler, faster, and more efficient. Again, that's clara.ch.